Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
and beer.
And beer. And we finally finished the Canada binge.
Finally. Man.
Finally.
Woo. That was so long, I'm actually having a little bit of whiskey tonight.
Nice. well,
and Angel's Envy.
Just two crazy Florida men drinking beer, talking about true crime. I'm Bill.
And I'm Paul.
And with us tonight, returning to CKCB for the first time in a while, we have Mr. Jody Plauche. How's it going, Jody?
It's going great.
Yeah, if you remember, last time Jody was on, I didn't have a co-host, so it was just me and Jody, and we covered Baton Rouge serial killer Derrick Todd Lee. And then Jody said that, because he's from Baton Rouge, he said that he wanted to cover Sean Gillis. So I'm like, oh, all right. So here's Sean Gillis. So before we get started, just in case anybody is unfamiliar with who you are, Jody, go ahead and tell them who you are.
I'll keep it pretty short. Heard the episode about my father, or you were here the last time I was on here. I'm the author of the book Why Geary Why, and it details the events of my childhood where I was sexually abused, kidnapped, and eventually rescued. 2 weeks later, my father shot and killed the guy who was my karate instructor, shot and killed him in front of news cameras. And so the footage can be found on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever. It's one of the very, very famous first viral videos probably of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we had Jody on for an interview episode where we were talking about the aftermath and what he did with writing his book and becoming an advocate for for abuse survivors and whatnot. And then we had him back on for the Derrick Todd Lee episode, and now here we are covering Sean Gillis. So, all right, well, we'll jump right into it here. Sean Vincent Gillis was a serial killer, sex offender in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and surrounding areas. He killed 8 women, and to call him a serial killer and a sex offender is a bit of an understatement. He would rape and mutilate his victims in between 1994 and 2004. He was a product killer, meaning he was more into the corpse than the act of killing, although he did like the process as well. Most serial killers have nicknames like the Green River Killer or the Vancouver Butcher or the Baton Rouge Serial Killer, which was Derrick Todd Lee. But Sean's nickname was the other Baton Rouge Serial Killer.
Oh, man. Original.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was actually more brutal of a killer than Derrick Todd Lee was. Would you agree with that, Jody?
I would. From what I watched and listened to, he definitely was into that. I mean, Derrick Todd Lee would pretty much just go in there as a force necessary, gut him and rape him and then leave. I mean, this guy was stabbing him, 17, 34. I mean, just crazy.
Yeah, dismembering, getting into necrophilia.
Wow. Awkward.
But his murders were initially thought to be the work of Derrick Todd Lee, who we covered back in episode 88 with Jody before Paula joined the show.
One of the things that I found interesting that I didn't know. So when Derrick Todd Lee and Sean Gillis were, kind of in the prime of killing, I was in Pennsylvania. So, but what I found very interesting is when you look at Gillis and his timeline of when he was doing the killing, they were looking for Derrick Todd Lee. He stopped. I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I actually cover that in the notes, so we'll get to it. But yeah, I wish the two of them had just met up. It's just like, hopefully they hated each other and, killed themselves. Just beat each other to death.
Yeah. Knife fight.
Yeah. But I think Derrick Todd Lee would have the edge over Sean Gillis.
Yeah, he is a big boy.
Yeah. But, so Sean Gillis was born June 24th, 1962 in Baton Rouge. His parents were Yvonne and Norman Gillis, but Norman split when he was a toddler. After he tried to, he split after threatening to kill Yvonne and Sean. Yvonne moved in with her parents, and Sean lived with them for the majority of his childhood. And Norman spent the majority of his life after that in mental institutions and never came back into contact with Sean and Yvonne until much later, when I believe it was when Norman was like on his way out. I think. I didn't put that in my notes. Yvonne worked retail as well as at a Baton Rouge TV station, and she loved Sean very much, and she spoiled him, and she treated him like a super smart whiz kid, but the teachers said that he was maybe average at best. And,
wow. Yeah. Do highly intelligent people howl at the moon?
Well, back then it could have been something as he was dyslexic and they just didn't identify it,
Right. Well, he was book smart, but he was also very disturbed, and he did howl at the moon. he would go out at night and just after smoking weeds with his friends and just howl. And in fact, one neighbor saw him beating up a garbage can and bitching about how he couldn't find a girlfriend and how that wasn't fair. Well,
kind of like my girlfriend's trash.
What?
You said he was beating up a garbage can because he couldn't find a girlfriend. I say it's kind of like my girlfriend's trash.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
I watched the Tom. So sorry.
Do what?
I said I watched the Tom Brady roast, so I was just roasting myself.
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm definitely going to. I'm definitely going to watch that at some point.
It's excellent. It might have been the greatest roast of all time.
Wow. But he started getting into trouble with the law at 17 years old. Minor infractions, though, nothing serious. But they gradually got worse and worse and worse. And like with Derrick Todd Lee, police kept slapping him on the wrist. He would later get arrested for traffic offenses, DUI, drug possession, contempt of court. And his first known murder came in 1994 at 32 years old. There may not be any more murders from him, though, even though that's a little old to start killing. And I say that because he's convicted of 5, and he voluntarily confessed to all of them after he was arrested for 2 or 3 murders in particular. Thanks to good old DNA.
Yeah.
It was almost like he was when he got caught, when he was just confessing, that it was more like, no, I want you to know about this one too. Like he was, excited about what he had done.
Yeah, that's why I don't think that he has anymore. A lot of them were like, yeah, he killed so and so amount that we know of. Yeah, I don't think there's any more from him. But you never know. The Bayou is a big place.
Oh yeah.
So Sean, in a letter to a friend of one of the victims, described himself as pure evil and that he would commit murder without even knowing why he was doing it. He would stalk his victims, learning everything that he could about them, much like Derrick Todd Lee did. And he said that once a woman had attracted his attention, as far as he was concerned, she was already dead. And when the moment was right, he would attack and kill and rape and dismember. And yes, I got that order right. Now, Derrick Todd Lee would stalk and study for a period of time. What he would do is, once he felt comfortable, he would pounce, and that was just it. You know, I mean, it wasn't any long studying process like Derrick Todd Lee or even BTK did.
Yeah.
You know, just studying them. But if that wasn't bad enough, he was common law married and in a seemingly very happy relationship with a longtime girlfriend that had no clue about his extracurricular activities.
That sounds a lot like BTK.
Yeah, he looks like BTK too. He was just a nerdy guy who loved computers and Star Trek.
Yeah, when they said, "Oh, look, he was dismembering and raping women," you look at him and you go, "I can believe that."
There's a reason why he didn't kill a man. You know, because any man that's in halfway decent shape would be able to squash him like a bug. You know, he's just a little twerp, but he had a situation that, you know, unless he's going the Ron Dominique route, no man's going to find himself in. I meant, you know, gay sex. But according to his girlfriend, common law wife, Terry Lemoyne, he had said that before her, he had never been with another woman. She was his one and only. Now, this was obviously a lie because he was a rapist, necrophile, and cannibal in addition to being a murderer. Although it was likely true when he hooked up with Terry. Terry had a rough life. She had a daughter, Christine, and she put her up for adoption in 1986. And they had she had a string of abusive relationships and dead-end jobs. And then she met Sean Gillis, but we'll get to that. But
her only good relationship is a serial killer.
Is what?
A serial killer. Her only good relationship she had with a male, you know, meanwhile he's out raping dead bodies.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But just for shits and giggles, who in this cast of characters do you think notched the first kill? Either one of you.
Oh, between Derrick Todd Lee and Sean Gillis?
No. I mean, the cast of characters in the Sean Gillis story. There's two people that have killed. Who do you think got the first kill?
No, I have no clue.
Terry.
Terry?
She had killed somebody.
Oh.
She was working as a stripper, and a customer came in and started roughing up another dancer. Terry intervened, and the guy retaliated against her and broke a pool cue across her back. And she picked up the broken pool stick and started stabbing the guy with it. The dancer who was roughed up joined in, and the police logged it as self-defense.
Wow.
Good for her.
Yeah. Hell yeah. But it's just interesting. Yeah, that's something that's completely different in these serial killer stories, because usually it's not the innocent spouse that logs the first kill.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how the courting went when she was like, "I have something to tell you. I actually, in self-defense, killed a man." Meanwhile, he's thinking, "Did you fuck it?"
I don't know if she told him, honestly, because you watch her in documentaries, she seems very introverted, very shy, very nervous, and she's definitely not the person that she was in her younger years. Her wild nature, went somewhere else. But as a kid, Sean was on top of the game when it came to computers, and he was even able to master the early computers.
Oh, like must he had a Commodore 64?
Yeah. Probably had a Texas Instrument.
Yeah.
My mom and my sister moved my... Go ahead.
He definitely had that look.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a picture of a Christmas tree. It's got like the Starship Enterprise as an ornament, Voyager as an ornament.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That's your first clue.
I like Star Trek, but I don't have any Enterprise ornaments. But he probably had a Commodore 64 and a Texas Instrument. When my mom and my sister and I lived with my uncle, he had a Texas Instrument computer that hooked into the TV, and you just used a tape player as a disk drive. You got these magazines that would, with programs in them that you would copy the program and type it in. And after typing dozens of pages of script, you would hit run and a ball bounced across the screen. Woohoo!
I remember that.
So he died of dysentery.
Died of dysentery. Nah, he probably didn't die of dysentery. But he did dysentery.
Yeah.
He's still alive and in prison, but later on he used his computers for online porn and he was addicted to it.
He was ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he probably started killing because of how long it took to download a picture, let alone a video.
Yeah,
it was dial up.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Right.
In college, when I first got my first computer, I would be at home and I would fax over like pictures of some titties to my work. It was waiting tables at a restaurant, but they couldn't run the credit cards if the printer was printing up something off the internet, and so they would be stuck for like 30 minutes. I would have to download this. Nothing but me just fucking with them.
Meanwhile, you can load up a jukebox with credits and play Slayer and leave. I've done that before.
What I like to go to the jukebox and play like a really good song. Usually She Talks to Angels, and then play like some really shitty songs after, like Bop and The Rose by Bette Midler. That'll really get people. I was in San Diego time, and the bartender got on the bar and he said, "Whoever's playing this shit," it was in a biker bar too. "Whoever's playing this shit, if I find out who it is, I'm going to whip your ass and you're never coming back in here."
Yeah, another time I was in the sports bar. I was getting really shitty service from the waitress, and they weren't even that busy. And on my way out, I loaded it up with "Animal Fuck Like a Beast" by Wasp about 20 times. Why they would even have that on a restaurant's jukebox?
Now they got apps, so you don't even have to go play that really cool song first. You can just start playing shitty songs from your phone.
Yeah, you don't even have to be in the building to activate those jukeboxes.
Yeah.
Oh man. But in 1991, Yvonne took a job in Atlanta. Sean was 29 at the time, but she wanted him to go to the ATL with her, but he refused. He didn't want her to go, and he's been a mama's boy all his life, and he thought that if he didn't go, that she wouldn't, but that didn't happen. But she still sent all of the money to him for bills, and he's 29 years old at this point. No job. Mama's paying all of his bills. But didn't you say that was the thing, Jody, about lots of people leaving Baton Rouge for work in Atlanta?
Yeah, usually it's Atlanta, Houston, or Dallas, because that's the biggest cities around us. They call it brain drain. I know I left and went to Dallas for 3 years and Pennsylvania for 7, so I can't criticize anyone who does it. And one of the best decisions I ever made was going to Pennsylvania. I love that place. I'm sitting here on the TV right now, muted is just pictures of Philadelphia from above, and that's just like, I did it for the light, hopefully I could get reflection, but that's just what I chose to pick. Just scenic shots of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I want to go to Philadelphia as a tourist sometime because I love history. I want to see the Eastern Penitentiary. I want to see that. I want to see the Naval Battleship Graveyard. Yeah, I've driven by all these things, but I've never stopped.
I've driven by the Eastern State Penitentiary. I've seen it on one of my favorite shows, Cold Case. But to tell you how local I was, I never went like as a tourist. Now, if I would go back, I definitely would do it again. I had some friend of mine, their daughter went to Valley Forge Military Academy. She's from here, and they on one of their trips up to Philly over the years said that was their favorite like little tour or touristy thing that they did.
Yeah. I've done some deliveries in the port area. You know, Philadelphia is an interesting city. But anyway, in 1994, wait, hold on. Sean had abandonment issues, and he in interviews would say that in his early 30s he got heavily into internet porn, and that started a chain of escalation that led to his killing. So he blamed it on the porn.
The Ted Bundy excuse.
Yeah.
I can assure you, I've been single. I'm 52 years old. I've never been married. I can assure you it doesn't lead to that.
Exactly. Actually, being in a relationship could lead to that.
Well, yes, actually, but I always joke around and say, good thing there was porn back when I was in high school, or I'd still be a virgin.
I got you. I caught that. God damn, that's bad. I feel so bad for laughing at that.
Well, I'm going to go bad. If it makes you feel better, I wouldn't have. Because when I was kidnapped,
I know, that's what I'm laughing about.
A lot of people are very uncomfortable right now.
That's why I love this guy. What happened to you was, it was tragic. It was horrible and everything, but you can make jokes like that about it. It's just like, and I do the same thing, about being raised in a cult. I joke about it. I make fun of how I was back then, it's called being healed. It's called being recovered. But you caught me. I was not expecting that. Oh God.
I'm sure my mother's proud.
Hey, bro. So in 1994, Sean met Terry. She was working at a convenience store, Circle K. Sean had showed up with a mutual friend who had introduced them. And one podcast I was listening to saying that was like, "Come on, you got to know some people. You hook me up, set me up with somebody." And this particular friend's like, "Fine, shut up." So he drops him off at the Circle K. Says, "Sean, meet Terry," and then booked. Just left him there. But her first impression of Sean was that he was just an ordinary, safe person. The first night that he met, he stayed there like all night because she worked night shift. And they talked. I mean, I can relate to that because shortly after I met Todd, my former co-host, he worked nights at a convenience store, and I'd go hang out with him for hours there.
Oh, you were trying to hook up with him like Sean was with Terry?
Dude!
Well, you bring him up a lot. He's your ex-co-host. Seems like you're not over him, man.
Hey! He's also a lifelong friend. Are you jealous?
Nah, just messing with you. I digress.
No, I got a friend of mine that's in outside sales, and it's like he's got a client in the area and he's got an hour to kill. He'll come hang out with me. So it's, that's a bro thing.
Yeah, but this motherfucker's getting more comfortable on this podcast because he's starting to mess with me.
That's good.
Oh, it is good. I love it. Anyway, Sean and Terry had a lot in common. They liked all of the same things. It was like Chakotay and 7 of 9. And it's always a beautiful thing when two Trekkies find each other. Terry later said that he was kind and nice, the perfect boyfriend, and that he always put her first. She had never been treated so well, and she was convinced that they were going to stay together forever. Sean was Terry's knight in shining armor. And he even met Terry's daughter, Christine, when she was 11 years old. She liked him too, and Terry was hoping Sean was the one, but she was gun-shy about how much she'd been abused in the past. So one time she provoked a fight and slapped him to see what his reaction would be. His reaction shocked her, because she wanted to see if he was going to beat the shit out of her. And he started crying, "Girls aren't supposed to hit boys, and boys aren't supposed to hit girls." And he ran and, he ran off, and Terry realized that she was safe with Sean. And personally, if a woman hits me even once, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it'll happen again, and it'll get worse. And I've never hit a woman before, but I can't say that I've never been hit by one.
Ditto.
Oh.
What, Jody?
No, I was just thinking like Chris Rock was like, or shake the shit out of her, shake her. I never hit her, but I shake her. Meanwhile, Sean's like, "Oh no, you're not supposed to hit him. You're supposed to stab him and rape him."
Oh God.
Oh man!
I had a sip of beer going down my throat, and it went down the wrong way. You know how it just feels like somebody just hit you with a baseball bat when that happens, like right here. Jody's trying to kill me. But this event with the slapping, unbeknownst to Terry, was after Sean's first murder, which we're getting to right now. Yeah, you gotta smack a murderer in the face. Right now, they're tied. Anyway, Sean lived near a retirement community called St. James Place. And Sean was walking through it one night on his way to see Terry at work. 82-year-old Ann Bryan was a resident there, and she would leave her door slightly open at night so that nurses could come in at night and give her nightly medication. Sean noticed that the door was slightly open. He watched her from a window as she took a bath and got out and got into bed. And then he crept inside and found her in the bedroom, and he slipped in. He attacked her, and he stabbed her 47 times, including where he had slashed her throat. He also cut open her breast and midsection. And he later said that, I wasn't there to do that. I even scared myself. And that's what I call manufactured remorse.
Yeah. What was he there to do then?
Exactly. Exactly what he did. That's what he was there to do.
Wow.
The brutality of this attack was a little much for his first killing, based on what we see from other serial killers, not to mention the fact that he was 32 years old when it happened. Yeah, I still believe that this was his first kill because of how forthcoming he was when he spilled his guts after getting caught.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to confess that their first time was to an 82-year-old lady?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess it's better than a 25-year-old man.
I had too many fucking sips.
Oh, God. A 25-year-old man that's a karate instructor?
Yep.
Oh, God. Yeah, there was a new episode about your dad that came out that I found from a couple days ago. They got a lot of stuff wrong. They got a lot of stuff wrong, and I was sitting there yelling.
Send it to me. I like to listen to them.
Okay. Yeah, they got a lot. I'm sitting there yelling at my yelling at the.
Oh, you know what? If it's who I think it is, I think we're gonna schedule a time for us, and I emailed the guy and I said, read my book, and then that way you can see what you got wrong. Because they got a lot of shit wrong.
Private dicks.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, I need to just send them a time of when we want to do it, and then we're gonna do it. But I did listen to it.
Yeah, they got a lot wrong.
But also there was a lot of speculating. So they were saying, I'm not sure this happened, but what if this happened?
Right, there was that. But there was the whole thing. There was a whole thing about your mother and Doucette. That kind of.
Well, that comes from the Washington Post article because it was mentioned by Art Harris. That's why, my mother, just the thought of people thinking that. That's what that. But again, my dad, whenever they split up, my dad was telling people that, oh, she's found him a younger guy. So, I mean, he said it. I mean, so now Jeff telling his people, oh, yeah, me and June are a thing. Well, they got a lot of that wrong, but I can understand why. I told him, I said, read my book, then I'll come on and we can discuss kind of like where you went wrong or where you weren't.
Yeah. See, my episode wasn't really all that detailed. There's like I've told you before, my episode, there's better episodes out there than mine, but I didn't get anything wrong.
Well, and again, once I thought about it, when you were speculating about people, shady people that may have been looking for Jeff, and I recalled that incident. So yeah, even when you speculated, I think you might have been right.
Yeah, because it just seemed like it. I mean, yeah, you should read his book, there, Paul. So
yeah,
I got an autographed copy.
There you go.
But there's murder anyway about BTK. There's murders in this. Those murders that he's thought to have been done, they're in states with the death penalty. BTK is a coward. He's not going to confess to murders in a state that has a death penalty.
At this point, he should. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Put him out of his misery.
Well, I mean, it's going to take they put him to death, and he'll be dead by then.
True. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I agree with that. So you get the death penalty. You'll die of old age before you even get strapped to the gurney.
Yeah.
But all of Sean Gillis's murders were in Louisiana. They very much have the death penalty there. Louisiana's up there with Texas and Florida when it comes to the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
But this case was unsolved for a long time, and Gillis wasn't on anybody's radar at this point, and he didn't know Ann Bryan or anybody else in that community for that matter, so it was purely a crime of opportunity. 6 months later, Terry and Sean shacked up, and it had taken a year for him to take her to his place because it had been badly damaged by Hurricane Andrew and hadn't been fixed yet. But Terry didn't care. She was excited to help him fix the place up. So Sean moved into Terry's apartment while they fixed up the house because it was bad. I mean, they used newspapers to stop up the water and never picked up the newspapers. Just imagine how that place must have smelled.
God, yeah.
Rotted out drywall and everything because he had about an inch of water in his house from the flooding from Hurricane Andrew.
Huh.
But, in a police interview, Sean says, I have all kinds of shields, and what scares me the most is how convincing I can be. That's a red flag in itself, because when a man or a woman talks about shield or walls when talking to a new love interest, they're essentially saying, I'm going to treat you like shit, and you're going to have to deal with it if you want to be with me because I'm damaged. It's called grooming.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking in general terms here because Sean treated Terry very well.
He may not have treated her like shit personally, but he was you could see what he was doing behind her back.
Exactly. Yvonne had left Sean the house, and let me start that again. Yvonne left Sean the house that he had lived in with her all through his life, and like I said, she was sending him the money for the bills. Yvonne owned it. He didn't even have a job. Momma was paying all of his bills.
Yvonne must have had a really good paying job in Atlanta. And paying his bills in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, because it ain't cheap to live in Atlanta.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, that, you know what? Now that I'm looking back on it, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's a kind of a weird kind of relationship. You know, why does mommy want baby on her tit the whole time? You know, knows what she may have, when the dad left, made him her sexual partner, which gave him these crazy ideas. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But it seems to me that Yvonne was just, overly. Yeah, I don't think there was any Oedipus complex going there.
Well, I mean, by the time she left, he was old enough. So, actually, you know what I just did? I actually just accused a serial killer's mom of fucking her serial killer the day before Mother's Day.
What are you starting your podcast there, Jody? I would listen to every episode. Promote the hell out of CKCB too.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be as good because I'm able to sit back and listen to you tell the story, and I'm able to come up with like some stupid shit that I'm sure some of your listeners are going, shut up.
Oh God, I'm sure you're gonna try to kill me at least one more time during this episode.
Oh yeah, I'm not done yet. I mean, I'm just trying to let you tell us a little bit of the story before I, chime in.
Like the script supervisor.
Oh God!
Just so y'all know, you're going to notice a change in cup. I figured we'd go a little long, so I made two.
What? Nice. I know that. Well, one of your LSU alumni just became a Miami Dolphin.
And one of my LSU alumni just pitched his first game for the Pittsburgh Pirates and did really well.
I'm not much of a baseball guy.
And actually, he is one of two people who have been on the cover of Madden that has eaten my food that I've cooked.
Who, OBJ?
Yep.
Wow. Is the other one Jarvis Landry?
Nope, the other one's Richard Sherman. Wow. But here's a very interesting kind of like is in the book Friday Night Lights. Okay, they made the movie, they made the TV series, but first came a book. It was a Philadelphia journalist traveled down to Texas and followed this team around for like the football season. And in the book Friday Night Lights, they mentioned my dad. My dad, Geraldo did a special back in 88 or 89. And he says the instructor gave no instruction other than to applaud a man who shot the guy in the airport. And then Odell Beckham Sr. was like a senior school, and he was like a top, recruit. And they mentioned Odell Sr. in that book too.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Hey, Paul, on the Derrick Todd Lee episode, Jody was talking about when Derrick Todd Lee was actually caught in Atlanta because he had hauled ass, and he was telling me that they extradited him back to LSU, and he asked me, he was like, "What if I knew what did I say?"
You said LSU.
Oh, well, it's in Baton Rouge. I was close, but because something happened when they extradited Derrick Todd Lee back. He's like, I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, something happened when they brought Derrick Todd Lee back that hadn't been done before. I'm like, well, your dad wasn't anywhere around, was he?
Too bad he wasn't.
Yeah, right. No, but what it was is they didn't bring him through the tarmac. They just had the police go out to the plane and pick him up just in case there was somebody waiting with a gun next to the payphones.
They didn't walk him through the terminal. You said tarmac, but they just had like the paddy wagon, drove out onto the runway. He came out the plane and right into the paddy wagon, and he had on his, safety gear, Because who would want to hurt him?
I'm sure there's people in Baton Rouge that considered it.
Oh yeah.
But Terry did. He moved Terry into the house that he'd grown up with. I already said that, but he had put Terry into a maternal role. So Mama was gone, so now he has Terry to be his mama. And Terry did say that Sean was addicted to his computer. Sometimes he would literally be on it from the time he wakes up to the time he went to bed, and he'd be drinking the entire time. And Terry went to bed alone a lot. And sometimes he would stay on the computer all night long.
This is 94, probably waiting for a porn video to download.
Finally, a good characteristic.
And when it finally did download, he said, shortly after Sean moved in, she got him a job working at the Circle K that she worked at. She wanted to cut the umbilical cord, so to speak. My words, not hers, unfortunately. But he quit after 3 weeks. She also wanted him to stop drinking and using drugs, which he's, seems to have done for the time being. But he made up for it with his computer addiction. But like in lots of serial killer cases, Sean had a cooling off period after his murder. And this is another reason Dan Bryan was his first, because it would be 5 years before he committed his second. That's a long cooling off period.
Mm-hmm.
That's because he was when he committed his first murder rather than his 20s when most serial killers start.
Huh. BTK didn't start in his 20s.
No, he didn't have much of a cooling off period either. Not even 3 months. Well, there's similarities between Dennis Rader and Sean Gillis. Gillis was much worse than Dennis Rader in terms of depravity. And if you look at this guy, I don't know. You look at BTK in his 30s. You look at Sean Gillis in his 30s. They do look a lot alike, but they both look like total freaking dweebs who wouldn't even be able to hurt a freaking kid, let alone a full-grown adult.
A better description is they look like serial killers.
Good point. Good point. Very good point. Yeah, they look like serial killers. Like I said, Cherry worked the night shift, which gave Sean lots of free time to do whatever he wanted to do. And while he was in a cool down period, he was still driving around, reliving his first kill in his head and wanting to do this again. And the desire was building.
For 5 years.
For 5 years.
So are we calling this cooling down period the time where he quit when Derrick Todd Lee was in the headlines?
No, not yet. We're not there yet. This is
okay.
Because there's usually a cooling off period after a serial killer's first kill. It usually takes them a while to commit their second one, unless they're in, and then it takes a little while longer for them to do their third. But the cooling off period in between murders gets shorter and shorter and shorter with each one that they kill, with each one that they commit.
Okay, so we're not there yet.
But he started buying kill kit materials like large zip ties, working with them. He was getting quick at wrapping them around a target and pulling tight. He was preparing. But in this mindset that he was in, he was also distancing himself from Terry. So he was dissing Terry. Her mother was dying in the hospital and she couldn't drive because she had seizures, and Sean refused to take her to visit. That would have been it. I've been like, bye, dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
January 4th, 1999, a sex worker, 29-year-old Catherine Hall, was on the job. She's African American. And while some of his victims were African American, not all of them were. He didn't really have a specific type, but sex workers were his primary target.
Didn't we just do a whole month on that?
Yes. Willie Pickton. Yeah, we did 4 weeks on Willie Pickton, Jody.
That just goes to show you what kind of cowards serial killers are. They're picking the easiest targets. I mean, I guess, pretty much every criminal picks the easiest target. Yeah. But I mean, sex workers, drug addict, prostitutes, someone that'll flate you for $10. I mean,
Right.
you know.
Well, you look at the one person that Ron Dominique. Well, actually, there were two people that Ron Dominique sized up that he wasn't able to. That he was just they weren't playing around with it, and he wound up not even trying. One was the guy that the big old black guy that had just gotten released from jail, and he picked him up, promising him have sex with a sexy white woman, and that guy's just like, no. He got to his house, saw everything. Fuck off! I'm out of here. And he's just like, okay. That's like pretty much right before he got caught. And the other one was me. They wasn't going to get me either, fucker. Episode 37. But yeah, it's common with these pukes and everything. Gillis pulled up to her and started a transaction. She agreed, got into his car, and he took her to a spot on River Road. Jody, can you describe that road?
River Road is your best option when traffic is really bad in Baton Rouge. It literally runs along the path of the Mississippi River, which I was on River Road yesterday. It runs behind runs through the campus. And if you go to an LSU football game, and you want to park for free, there's a good chance you're going to be on River Road.
Cool. See, I love having geographical reference points on these episodes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We had the same thing when Morgan was on the Marriott's and Melvin's episode. That was really cool having his insight on that. But she started going down on him, and he put a zip tie around her neck, and she fought Sean. But she was able to get out of her car and took off running, but Sean caught up to her, and he tackled her and started stabbing her. He stabbed her 16 times before she died and another 21 times after she died.
Jeez.
And he posed her body nude and in a sexually provocative position under a dead end sign.
Jesus.
And I couldn't find anything saying whether or not he had raped her before she died, but I'm assuming that he did. But he did, however, rape her corpse. But Derrick Todd Lee was initially suspected of this murder.
Pretty convenient for Sean.
Yep.
Wait, was it Derrick Todd Lee suspected, or was it the Baton Rouge serial killer?
It was the Baton Rouge serial killer because they hadn't identified Derrick Todd Lee yet, but they were thinking it was him. All of these they were thinking was the same person. But if they had looked at it, they would have seen a pattern, which I'm going to get to, and the difference between the victims that Derrick Todd Lee killed versus the other one. But they also thought that he was they had no idea they were dealing with two, and when they were looking for Derrick Todd Lee, they were looking for a white guy, which that probably plays in because why Sean Gillis. I'm getting a little ahead here, but that's probably why Sean Gillis cooled down, because at the time they're like, we're looking for a white man,
a white guy in a white truck.
Yeah, and he had a white Cavalier.
That's about 75% of the plant workers here in Baton Rouge.
But that probably had a lot to do with why he took that cooling off period. But oh shit, they might confuse me for him, whoever he is. But it's crazy. There's only two people in all of Baton Rouge that knew that there were two serial killers, and that was the two serial killers. Because Derrick Todd Lee is going, I didn't do that.
I didn't do that shit.
and Sean Gillis is like,
bullshit. I didn't do that shit. That wasn't me.
the fucking Shaggy defense wasn't me.
Derrick Todd Lee's like, 82?
Well, that one would have never been pinned on Sean Gillis if he hadn't confessed to it. He would have gotten away with that one. But, because in
Baton Rouge, you tend to get away with your first murder.
Oh God, I love this guy. Oh damn! Oh.
If you tuned in late, go back and watch the introduction.
Damn it, man. May of 1999, Sean was driving around again. He spotted 52-year-old Hardy Mosley Schmidt jogging. He didn't initially think anything of it, but he kept seeing her. And he says in an interview it was just a spur at the moment, although he would say that he had searched for her on the day that he killed her. That doesn't exactly sound like spur of the moment to me.
Mm-mm.
Hardy, they were like almost positive that Derrick Todd Lee did this one because this one fit, this victim fit Derrick Todd Lee's victim profile 100%. She was a mother of 3 kids. She was married to an attorney. You know, they were well-to-do. Her family was old money in Baton Rouge, and her father was a judge. May 30th, the slimeball was driving his beat-up Chevy Cavalier through her affluent neighborhood. Now, he saw Hardy, and he ran her down with his shitty Chevy, and he knocked her into a ditch. He jumped out of his car with a zip tie and slipped it around her neck and choked her out dead with it. And then he stuffed her in his trunk and took off. He took her to a park in Baton Rouge where he raped her corpse. And what do you think he did next? Take a guess. Either one of you.
I'm going to go stabbed her 37 more times or dismembered her.
Well, he did cut things off of her. He put the corpse back in the trunk and then went and picked up Terry from work. And she later says that she noticed a smell in the car and asked him what it was. And Sean said that he had hit an animal on the way to pick her up, and he said that that's probably what she was smelling. So yeah, he called her an animal. Nice guy.
Wow.
She just told him to clean the car, and she had no idea. He then dumped her body in a bayou where it was found a few days later. And most of his murders were initially thought to be the work of Derrick Todd Lee, so I'm just not going to keep saying that they thought that was Derrick Todd Lee. Although she fit Derrick Todd Lee's victim profile 100%. Because those were the types of people that he would go after. He'd go after the people that lived in nicer neighborhoods and stuff like that, more well-to-do people. Whereas for the most part, Sean Gillis is going after the downtrodden, people down on their luck and everything. So yeah, I can definitely see where, why this one in particular was suspected of being Derrick Todd Lee. But the investigation into Derrick Todd Lee was almost as bad as the Vancouver Police Department with Willie Pickton. If you, if you haven't heard that episode, check out episode 88 with Derrick Todd Lee with Jody as a guest.
After you finish this episode.
Yeah. If for any other reason, just to see if Jody's going to be successful in making me choke myself out. Lee was caught before Sean Gillis, and Lee was caught on May 27, 2003. Gillis was caught April 29, 2004. I didn't find anything about a reaction from Lee about being charged with Gillis's murders, but I'm sure that conversation happened, and I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when Lee was accused, as well as when they told Lee that those charges had been dropped when they had caught Gillis. Just saying. Yeah, I don't know that he was actually charged with any of these murders. I'm not sure. Well, probably not, because he left DNA everywhere. So it probably didn't take him very long to find out that he didn't commit these other 2 murders, or these other murders by Sean Gillis. And
maybe they knew that wrong and they just didn't say anything, because you know how like police keep things from the public. So maybe they just wanted the public to know, okay, there's one serial killer, and I mean, don't want to like put out on the news. No, really, it's two. One's white, one's black.
Yeah, well, if they had done it during the middle part of the Derrick Todd Lee investigation, they would have said they've got two white serial killers
in two white trucks.
Well, he was driving a Cavalier, but it was white. And it's also not uncommon for somebody to say, "Oh, he was in a white Cavalier," when it was actually a truck, or vice versa. So it's not uncommon. But I lost my place. The funny thing was, Gillis's murders were much more gruesome than Derrick Todd Lee's, but Derrick Todd Lee is the most infamous of the two by reputation and notoriety. But their combined murders don't equal the number of Ron Dominique.
Mm.
Yeah, that sick fuck is Louisiana's worst serial killer, but Hurricane Katrina stole his thunder. Episode 37 with Mark from Mental Illness Theater. He sat in on that one.
Yeah.
But November 12th, 1999, Sean was on the prowl again, and he spotted 36-year-old Joyce Williams, and who was an African-American sex worker and a drug addict. And Sean picked her up, and remember when I said earlier about that Terry felt safe with Sean? Joyce actually said the same thing to him. She told him that if she were with anybody else, she'd be feeling nervous. And that was probably just Sean running his mouth. Honestly. Yeah. I don't believe that she actually said that.
Yeah.
Sean drove to a secluded area in the sugarcane field.
Yeah. Sugarcane field. Can't hear anybody scream.
Yeah, that's true. They're all over the place in South Florida outside the Everglades. They have sound dampening qualities.
Yeah.
So they got out. She started going down on him. He slipped a zip tie over her head to her neck, and he choked her out, and she died. At this point, Sean was more turned on by sex with a corpse than with a living woman, and he didn't even finish with Joyce before he killed her. So what did he do next? Take a guess.
He went, let's say, I'm going to say, here's my dilemma. Dismember or rape? We know he did both, probably, or stab, 47 more times. It's just you're asking which one came next. And
no, he did something else.
Oh, God, that's even better.
He took her somewhere.
Prom?
Huh?
I said prom? Like, I have no clue.
He took her to a shooting of Hill Street Blues. No, I'm kidding.
Been there, done that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Now, he brought her body back to his house.
Wow.
Yeah. Sean was fixated on Joyce's legs, and he liked them so much he cut them off with a hacksaw. And he was dismembering her, he got hungry and he wanted to taste her. So he ate pieces of meat from her legs, and he cut her nipples off, and he ate them too. He then decapitated her and pulled the old Ed Kemper move and tried to fuck her throat, but the sharp bone fragments scraped his little wee-wee. He then bagged her up and disposed of the body, and then he went up and picked up Terry from work, where he likely kissed her when she got into the car.
Fuck, so we go to Willie Picton, who sent human meat out to people unknowingly, and then, yeah.
You'll have to do a show on, like, ranking, like, the top 10 worst serial killers, because, he's moving up the charts.
He is. But I think we can find 10 more gruesome than him, though.
Yeah. Hope he brushed his teeth before he picked her up.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Can you imagine?
At this point, do we really think they were kissing on sight? They're common law.
Yeah, and they only had, according to Terry, they only had sex 3 times in the entire time that they were together.
It must have been when she was passed out drunk and couldn't move.
Probably.
Pretty soon we're going to have to change the name of this podcast to Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Cannibals.
No. Well, Willie wasn't a cannibal. He just turned half of Vancouver into cannibals.
Yeah.
When he was done, he put Joyce's remains into plastic bags, put them in the trunk of his car, and then he went and picked up Terry off at work. He dropped her off at home. Then he drove his Chevy to the levee, but the levee was not dry, and he dumped her body there and took off. Later in November, Terry opened an envelope that contained a summons. Sean had gotten a DUI, and she also discovered that he had gotten one a year prior as well, so he had violated her trust. And when she confronted him about it, he just blew her off. And I'm wondering, how does he still have a valid driver's license after 2 DUIs in a year?
Yeah.
Jody?
Yeah. How strict are DUIs there in Louisiana?
They're like every other state. I mean, you're going to lose your life for a year. So, I mean, with Uber, there's no reason for DUIs these days.
Right. In January of 2000, he saw 52-year-old Lillian Robinson. She had been found in a river with a zip tie around her neck, and Sean had thrown her over the side of the bridge, over the I didn't try to say this name in Derrick Todd Lee episode, and I'm not going to try to say the name now, basin.
It's the Atchafalaya Basin.
Yes, that's the one.
Did I tell my story about breaking down there one time?
You did on the Derrick Todd
Lee episode.
That's great.
Okay, all right. So now, go back and listen to that to hear that story. But yes, the Atchafalaya Basin, it runs, it's an 18-mile bridge between Baton Rouge and Lafayette.
Yeah, and it's a Derrick Todd Lee dumped bodies there, and Ron Dominique probably did too.
Like I said, it's behind the Green River is the second most serial killer dumping spot of all time.
Yeah, because Ron Dominique didn't just stay in New Orleans; he branched out. But the autopsy showed that her cause of death was drowning. So she went in alive.
Yeah, she was breathing.
October of 2000, Sean was on the prowl again, driving through Lafayette. He noticed 38-year-old Marilyn Nevels. He said that he hadn't planned to kill anybody that night, but he just couldn't help himself when he saw her. She got into his car. He tried to attack her, but she fought him, got out of the car. Once again, he ran her down, saw a metal rod. He picked it up, caught her, and beat her with it and strangled her until she was dead. This murder wasn't known until he confessed to it after being arrested. Sean then went on another cooling off period and was dormant for almost 3 years. And Jody, tell us why.
This was the height of the Derrick Todd Lee. I mean, this is when Dateline and MSNBC and Fox News. This is when it was the height of the Derrick Todd Lee, and they were looking for this white guy driving a white truck.
Yep. He decided to lay low because of the fact that law enforcement was on high alert, and at the time they were looking for a white man when Derrick Todd Lee was black. Mace was flying off the shelves, as well as guns and ammo. Self-defense classes were completely booked.
Pepper spray, all that was gone. Couldn't find it.
Yeah, the city was in a panic, and they were completely unaware that there was not one, but 2 serial killers in Baton Rouge at the same time. As far as I know, the other place that's ever happened is in California, and more than likely in Vancouver's downtown east side with Willie Pickton and Gary Ridgway.
Yeah. But
seriously, if you haven't heard that episode, go listen to it after you finish this one. Sean Gillis even kept a Derrick Todd Lee file on his computer. He was watching this case closely, and he idolized Derrick Todd Lee. Well, he idolized the Baton Rouge killer because they didn't know who it was yet at that point. I don't think that Sean Gillis was racist, but I kind of wish he was, so that when he found out that Derrick Todd Lee was a black man, he would have, oh my God, I've been worshiping a black man. and maybe he would have killed himself.
I mean, he was from Louisiana, so there's maybe a racist.
Yeah, but so I'd like to interview him and ask him things like that. Yeah,
but I would say and this is really screwed up, but I would say Gillis wasn't racist because he's killing people from both races.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and
even Derrick Todd Lee killed someone from another race, or no, he was killing white women, but he also killed a black girl,
right.
And
it was the black girl. It was the black girl that put him on that one cop's radar.
Right. My friend was a lawyer at the time. I don't want to identify him, but he was the one that first, when we're talking about who could it be, he goes, it's a black guy, because he was connecting the other black girls' murders to what would eventually be Baton Rouge serial killer. But Gillis killed more black women than Derrick Todd Lee.
Yeah, he did. Gillis killed 2. Derrick Todd Lee killed 1. But and that was kind of what. But that was kind of what. There was only one person through that really saw it for what it was, But 2, because your friend, the attorney, he saw it too. But it's insane. They're both insane cases. I mean, as far as as far as like the insane scale, as far as the 3 prominent Louisiana serial killers go, I think it goes Gillis number 1, Derrick Todd Lee number 2, Ron Dominique number 3. As far as body count, it goes Dominique, Lee, Gillis. But
wait, Lee had more than Gillis?
Lee had 10, Gillis had 8.
Okay.
And Dominique had at least 23.
Yeah, if Gillis would have had more than 8, he would have tried to beat Derrick Todd Lee's number of 10.
Yeah. And nobody knew about Ron Dominique yet, because he outlasted all of them. He started killing before and got taken down after both of these 2. He got taken down in like 2005, I think it was. So, Ron Dominique. When Derrick Todd Lee was arrested May 27th of 2003, everybody breathed a sigh of relief, but Sean Gillis decided to start again. In October of 2003, he was on the hunt again. He spotted 45-year-old Johnny Mae Williams, a gorgeous black woman. Okay, so he killed 3 black women. I saw one report that said that she was gorgeous. I heard one report that said that she was just like totally whacked out on drugs and looked it.
Huh.
So, but in another BTK similarity, he knew Johnny Mae. They were friends, and she had worked for him as a housekeeper because he was too lazy to clean his own house. But they had become friends. They would party together. Sean even spent a Thanksgiving at her house with her family.
Huh.
I'm sure that they were probably intimate as well, and Sean would later call the relationship a buddyship and a mutual codependency.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah, I agree. That's what yeah. So he's not as asexual as, he wants you to think that he is. But he was eating that sexual chocolate.
Yeah.
He says he gave her money for drugs, and one night he picked her up and they were just driving around, hanging out, and he drove behind a restaurant, Mason's Grill. You ever eaten there, Jody?
And Mason's Grill, if you read my book, is next door to Callaway's. That's where my sister got in a fight with Stormy Daniels, which is across the street from the karate school where Jeff molested me the most.
Damn.
Wow.
Like it's literally next door. And the first time I went to Mason's Grill was to hear my brother sing in 2003.
God, you might have been there when he was right behind it.
Yeah.
He may have been, but I was living in Pennsylvania, so I didn't know. I was in town to speak at a conference, and so that's the first time I went to Mason's Grill.
Oh, by the way, Paul, his signal cut out there for a second. His sister beat the shit out of Stormy Daniels.
Oh shit!
Well, I don't want to say beat the shit out of, because my sister's own words were, didn't get her as good as I wanted to, but I got her pretty good.
Whooped her ass. We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
But he pulled up behind the restaurant and he beat her and he stabbed her, mutilated her. He even cut off her hands.
What the fuck?
He kissed her, closed her eyes, and according to him, nothing triggered this attack. He says this murder haunts him, and to that I say, go fuck yourself.
I guess because he knew her.
Yeah.
No, and this is fucked up, serial killer logic, but I could see like where his urge overpowered him, and then when he looked back, it was like, oh shit, I knew. Oh man, that's fucked up. I could see that.
Yeah, I can see that too. But I just wanted to tell him to go fuck himself.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But he'd have to kill himself first.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I don't have anything tying me to Florida. I'm going to move to Baton Rouge. And we're going to watch football. I don't really have a college.
You should title this "I'm Canceled."
Yeah, right. I don't have a college football team really, so yeah, I'll become an LSU fan.
Go Tigers!
I mean, hell, the Dolphins have had they've had both of the dream team set of wide receivers. They drafted Jarvis Landry, and now they have Odell Beckham Jr.
And they had AJ Dewey and David Woodley. Come on now, get up to speed with the LSU players.
I'm not a big college fan. I've worked Saturdays my entire adult life, so I really don't get a chance to watch a lot of college football.
But I mean, you've heard of AJ Dewey?
Yeah, of course. I'm a Dolphins fan.
I mean, at the time, David Woodley was the youngest quarterback to ever start a Super Bowl at the time. Mm-hmm. He went to LSU, and he used to split time with not current, but Steve Ensminger, who was the offensive coordinator for the greatest offense in the history of college football.
Nick Saban.
No, 2019 LSU Joe Burrow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and then your crappy team took my coach. all them Alabama national championships would have been LSU's championships if he would have stayed here. No.
Oh, believe me, I wish y'all had kept him. I hate that guy.
Was it Zinga? Was it Wayne Huizinga was like, you're not leaving Miami without a contract?
I can't remember if that was Huizinga or Ross, but it doesn't matter because that would have been a Huizinga thing. There's no doubt in my mind Miami would have won a Super Bowl with Nick Saban if he had stayed. There's no doubt in my mind, but he's a fucking dick. It's the way he's like.
You know what's funny? All right, so anyway, fuck Nick Saban. All right, let's go.
yeah, fuck Nick.
Actually, Nick Saban didn't live far away from where Gillis lived. If you're looking at where Gillis lived off Lee and Highland, and Nick Saban actually lived just north of Lee and Highland. Well,
I'm sure Nick Saban's house was a lot nicer. Oh God.
It was.
Yeah. But I could probably be happy living in Louisiana. I know I could. I mean, I love Florida. Not much difference.
Yeah, if you can avoid an alligator in Florida, you can avoid an alligator in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's better food. Well, we have an understanding with the alligators. We leave them alone; they leave us alone.
Mm-hmm.
Not us.
Alligator attacks are usually tourists. We
have a TV show. Shoot him!
I saw a video of an alligator in a fight with a Burmese python. The alligator won. Shot down in the Everglades.
Yeah.
Did he get to collect the money?
Huh?
Did he get to collect the money? Don't y'all get paid like if you kill a python, you get like a neutral in Louisiana, you get like $5?
Well, that's they do have hunts like once a year for Burmese pythons, and I would do it because I used to raise Burmese pythons back in the 90s, so I know how to handle them. But I would not trust myself to not get lost and die in the Everglades.
Oh, yeah.
Everglades, that's a very, very scary place if you don't know what you're doing. Or if you don't have someone with you that knows what they're doing.
I'm not a big fan of swamps.
Terry's daughter, Christine, later says that Sean was fascinated about the idea of a second serial killer. There was a website where people would post pictures of the victims, and Sean was giddy showing these pictures to Terry and Christine. And they chalked it up at the time to just a ghoulish interest. You know, kind of like people who listen to and people who make true crime podcasts.
Yeah.
One day Terry came home and saw that Sean had cleaned the house spotless as a birthday surprise, and she thought that was because he was doing a sweet gesture because he wasn't the type who liked to clean. But put a knife in that. February 2004, Sean picked up 43-year-old Donna Bennett Johnson. She was working the upper Baton Rouge. She was working upper Baton Rouge, and she was a drug addict with 5 kids. Sean boasts about this kill being the only successful one from start to finish. He said that she was extremely drunk, and he had absolutely no problem getting her into his car. He took her to a deserted area off of Scenic Highway and claims that he claims that she passed out in his car.
Is that what he meant by successful? He literally didn't do anything?
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what he meant by that, but Scenic Highway, Jody.
He got to save a zip tie. Scenic Highway is not far. Scenic Highway is not far from my grandparents' house.
Is it scenic?
If you watch, no. You know, if you're walking north on Scenic Highway, to your left is Exxon refinery. So I don't know if you think refineries are scenic, then yeah, absolutely, it's beautiful.
I don't.
if you watch the movie The Toy, the final scene where the kid shoots Richard Pryor in the head with the little thing, the little suction cup.
Yeah,
he takes off running, and he's running down Scenic Highway next to Exxon, and that's where basically that happened.
I haven't seen that movie in decades.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the final scene. The credits are rolling, but in Richard Pryor, he's running down Scenic Highway. Yeah. So for those who are familiar with that movie,
yeah, I remember it, but it's just I haven't seen it forever. So he slipped a zip tie over her head and around her neck, and he pulled it tight, and she still didn't wake up. He joked that when he jerked on it to pull it super tight, that's when she woke up. Woke up. He then raped her, beat her, cut off her arm. He saw a tattoo on her thigh, and he literally cut it off of her. He had never taken a trophy before, as far as we know, but he did this time, and he posed her and he photographed her. But that's another thing. He was taking lots of pictures too. Another BTK thing. But he threw her in the trunk and took even more pictures. But he then decided he didn't like the tattoo, and he just chunked it out the window.
BTK should sue for copyright infringement.
None of BTK's antics would be known at this point because he wasn't caught until around a year later. But so this was all Sean, unless Sean was also a fan of Harvey Glattman, like Dennis Rader was, which I think that was like episode 6 or 7 when we covered Harvey Glattman.
Did Dennis write a poem about Sean once he was out of prison? Yeah, once he was in prison.
Actually, he did. Funny you should mention that. He loved studying other serial killers, and he did eventually find out about Sean, and he wrote one of his famous or infamous haikus spelled HYKOO in BTK 363 Factor X format, and I have it.
Yeah.
Sean Gillis. Sean copy BTK. Stupid chump. No, that wasn't real. But he decided against the trophy and he tossed it out the window, and I already said that. He wrapped her arm in a towel and chunked it into a ditch, and he dismembered the rest of her body parts and disposed of them all over Baton Rouge.
Mm.
This would be his last known murder, although he was feeling bulletproof at this point because he wasn't even on the police's radar. February 26, 2004, Donna Bennett Johnson's mutilated body was found by two joggers, and at first they thought it was a mannequin.
It's never a mannequin.
Nope. Never a mannequin. I don't know which podcast coined that phrase. I thought it was morbid, but I heard another podcaster say that it was True Crime Garage. I don't know. No.
And it's never firecrackers in a mass shooting.
No.
But they're always like, it sounded like firecrackers.
There's never a shortcut. there's never, there's somebody tells you they know a shortcut. There's no shortcut. But, this one stung the police department because Donna Bennett Johnson had worked with them several times as an informant over the years. But DNA linked her murders to Catherine Hall and Johnny Mae Williams. The DNA profile also said that they were looking for a Caucasian male. So this cleared Derrick Todd Lee of these murders, and the police had rock-solid proof that they had another vicious serial killer on their hands. Plus, like I said earlier, Derrick Todd Lee targeted affluent women. This serial killer was killing women who were down on their luck, and they hadn't tied Ann Bryan and Hardy Schmidt to this serial killer yet. And they and several other of Sean's victims were still considered unsolved. Hardy Schmidt, I'm sure that they actually, I would be surprised if Derrick Todd Lee was actually charged with that one. Mm-hmm. Rather than just being suspected of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was The Wire, they would just, or the Atlanta child killings, they would just put it all on Derrick Todd Lee. Hey, we cleared him.
Yeah, it was the Atlanta child murders. That was a long time before this. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
No, but my point being is when the Atlanta child murders were happening, they had like 38 other homicides that weren't cleared. It was like adult males. And they were like, oh, here you go. He killed them all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what they did with The Wire.
Like reverse Henry Lee Lucas.
See, very good. Reverse Henry Lee Lucas. It was the cops doing it. Oh, he did all this shit. Just say yeah.
The Atlanta child murders, that's another big case. Yeah. We're going to do a bunch of one-part episodes for a while because I'm burned out on doing all the research on the multi-part one. And Willie Picton was our first 4-part episode.
Almost 5.
Almost. It could have been 5. Hell, it could have been 15.
Yeah.
March 2004, task force was formed once again, and they handled it better than they did with Derrick Todd Lee. They took tire prints that were found at the scene of Donna Bennett's murder, and it matched a Goodyear Aqua Tread 3 tire. Those tires had a deep groove in the center of the tread to channel the water out of it, supposedly to cut down on hydroplaning. They stopped making them, though, and I wasn't sure why. I just remember seeing them all the time in tire shops back then, and then all of a sudden they were gone. But I looked it up. They were a fad. They didn't work the way it was advertised, and both Goodyear and Michelin came out with better all-weather tires. That groove was also responsible for blowouts. You know, not to the degree of Firestone in the late 90s, but there were some.
What year was this? Was this before the Concorde crash?
This was 2004. March of 04.
I think the Concorde was 03.
Well, but the Firestone blowouts were happening in the late 90s on regular cars.
Yeah. I remember those.
Yeah. But that channel in the Aquatred tires did cause blowouts. It was just a bad idea. You're basically compromising the integrity of the tire with that freaking groove that goes beneath the tread. You know, it wasn't a good idea. Anyway, the reason I bring up the history of those tires is because they were discontinued at this point. The police investigated them, and they determined that only 90 sets of Aquatred 3 tires were sold in all of Louisiana. So on the way out of the Aquatred fad. Plus they were a lot more expensive than a normal tire. That's another reason why they didn't. Yeah, we're going to charge you extra to cause your car to have a blowout.
Oh.
At least you didn't hydroplane.
But yeah, 90 sets of Aquatred 3 were sold in all of Louisiana. So that was obviously a major clue to finding the killer. There weren't many sets of those tires sold at all in Baton Rouge. It didn't take them long to get to Sean Gillis, and they were just interviewing everyone who had bought those tires in Baton Rouge. So they went to Sean's house, they knocked on his door. They just wanted to come down to the station and talk to him, but he wasn't a suspect yet. They were talking to everybody. But at the time, he was just somebody that had the same tires that were at the crime scene. Terry had gotten home from work when the police had arrived, and Terry says that they were also interviewing everybody with... All right, let me do that again. Terry says that they were interviewing everybody with a Chevy Cavalier, according to the police. But I think that what I think is they weren't tipping off the fact that they were looking for the Aquatreds. So it's just like if somebody had the Aquatreds but had a Jeep, they would have been like, "Yeah, we're just questioning everybody that has a Jeep." Yeah. You know, so that's probably what it was. Sean Gillis agreed to go to the police station, and Sean was worried for Terry's sake about not making it home that night, and the officers picked up on that. Things that make you go, He asked if he could have a cigarette before they left. They let him, and when he was done, he dropped it and stomped it with his foot. And then he said, "Okay, let's go get this shit over with." Police officers had a feeling that they had their guy, and Sean volunteered a DNA swab.
He's done.
Yep. And even if they hadn't, even if he hadn't volunteered the DNA,
they had a cigarette.
Exactly. They could have just gone back. Somebody probably picked up the cigarette too. Yeah.
If the cops offer you a cigarette, coffee, no.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to help the serial killers. I'm just like, no, you don't volunteer your DNA.
Nope. Well, like in part 4 of the Willie Pickton episode, they put a cell plant in with Willie, and the cell plant's just like saying fuck every other word. And then, Mental Illness Theater on their episode, their series on Willie Pickton, they're Canadian, they're a Canadian podcast, and this is a Canadian case. And they're like, if a police officer, shows up, or if somebody shows up in your cell and they're talking to you and he's saying fuck every other word, it's a cop. I'm glad that's all. It was a good series. It was just exhausting. But anyway, police asked him about tire tracks, and he said that he was on his way home. He had to use the bathroom really bad, so he stopped there at that place to do it. But he didn't see anything, and he admitted that he was driving the Chevy Cavalier. They then told him that in addition to the tire tracks, there was evidence that Donna Bennett Johnson had been taken from the trunk and thrown into the canal nearby. Sean said that it wasn't from his vehicle, but what he had done is he had placed himself there.
Hmm.
You know, police didn't buy that he had to take a piss. I mean, he was like a block away from his house. Hell, it would take longer to pull off into that area and just find a place to park your car than it would be to just drive another block and get home.
Yeah.
I mean, he even told police that he knew Johnny May Williams. So he's placed himself at the scene of one murder and admitted that he knew another victim. You're not doing yourself any favors there, Sean.
He'd have been better off going, I killed a bitch, I threw her in the river, and then that's where I tried to bury her. Like, he'd have been better off coming clean.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's what he did.
Eventually. Police set up surveillance around his house, and they took the car into impound to test it, and they waited for his DNA profile to be returned. Sean was allowed to go home once his initial interrogation was all done. When he got home, he just sat and watched TV rather than being on his computer. He watched TV with Terry, and he went to bed with her at the same time. They probably watched Grease.
Grease 2, much better movie.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hate that. That was a joke from the last episode, part 4 of Willie Picton. No, honestly, they were probably watching Star Trek.
They probably were like in different rooms, and he was watching porn.
No, he was actually on the couch with her because he knew he was done.
Mm.
Keyboard probably had
What order?
keys.
The keyboards gives a new definition to sticky keys.
He's watching SVU.
I'm going to say, let's see, this is what, 2004? Okay, it would have had to have been reruns because Enterprise had already been canceled yet at that point. And yes, I am a freaking Star Trek nerd.
Now, do you like the Next Generation?
Oh, I was a teenager when that came out, so yes.
Jean-Luc? Yeah.
Jean-Luc.
Although my favorite series is the original one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That is my favorite. Even though my Star Trek is the Next Generation, my favorite series is the original one. But
every Sunday we'd have Star Trek Next Generation and then the Highlander. There could be only one. We'd watch them back to.
I didn't really get into the TV series, The Highlander. I watched a few episodes and I didn't dislike it, but I just wasn't really into it. Yeah. I like the movies though. Well,
yeah, the movies.
Some of the movies.
Yeah. It's like some of the Star Treks.
Yeah. The DNA test came back, and Sean's DNA matched the DNA found on Catherine Hall, Johnny May Williams, and Donna Bennett Johnson. Sean and Terry were in bed, and the police had broke down the door, and they arrested Sean. And they told Terry that she was like, "What's going on?" And we're like, "Well, we're here to arrest a serial killer." And she just laughed, like, "Sean, a serial killer? Boy, you've got the wrong house."
Oh,
he wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't hurt a fly.
No, but he'd rape the shit out of a woman.
Yeah.
After he killed her.
Yeah. Terry was taken to the police station along with Sean, and they began grilling Sean about the murders. And this is when he said that there was nothing that these women had done to piss him off, and they described himself as a monster. Terry was allowed to talk to him, and she asked him point blank if he had done what they were accusing him of. He said, "Yeah, honey bunny, I did all that." She turned around, left, and that was it. I mean, she talked to him one other time. But in interrogation, Sean was enjoying being the center of attention, and he was hamming it up as he confessed.
Once again, just like BTK.
Yep. It's just the similarities between him and BTK. I mean, yeah, he was a lot more brutal than BTK, but the similarities of the person and their process and everything, it's just, there's a lot of them. But he did say that he'd be less interesting than Charles Manson, and he's right about that. I don't see Sean Gillis being a successful cult leader.
Oh, no. Not charismatic.
No. I don't know. He could have started something like Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
He could have started something like Heaven's Gate. You know, the science fiction, sci-fi, you know, death cult.
Oh, I was in San Diego, like the day after or the day before, but I was in the San Diego area when Heaven's Gate, wore their Nikes and drank the Kool-Aid.
Damn. I was about to say it's Flavor Aid, but that wasn't Heaven's Gate. That was, Flavor Aid was Jonestown.
Oh.
I was about to. But yeah, because Jim
Wait,
Jones.
I like how everyone says, "Oh, they drank the Kool-Aid." That is an expression in American history. Oh yeah, they drank the Kool-Aid. But you're like, I am a serial killer podcaster. It was Flavor Aid, bitch.
Yeah, it's like a Mandela effect thing. Just like when people quote Empire Strikes Back and they say, "Luke, I am your father." That's not what Vader said. He said, "No, I am your father." He didn't say, "Luke, I am your father."
Well, my dad's a Mandela effect because everyone's like, "Oh, I was watching that live when he shot him. He didn't shoot him live."
No,
you may have been watching the news live when they aired, but it was videotaped. That's why it's on YouTube.
Right.
But a lot of people remember seeing it live, like someone would send the news station, go, "All right, we're at the airport live to cover Jeff Doucette's return from California for molesting this unknown boy." No, but they had done the story of me being returned, so they sent the camera crew to go film his return, and that was going to be the lead story of the night. Well, guess what? It became the second story of the night.
Story of the night, yeah. I can't say this enough, but your dad was an amazing human being. But police thought that they were arresting Sean for 3 murders. Yeah, but they asked him about other cold cases, and he knew details about these cases that hadn't been released. And by the end of the initial interrogation, he had confessed to the murders of
Ann Byron, Catherine Hall, Hardy Schmidt, Joyce Williams, Lillian Robinson, Marilyn Nevels, Joanne May Williams, and Donna Bennett Johnson.
Yeah. Johnny May Williams.
Johnny?
You said Joni.
Joni?
Yeah. I think you said Joni. I don't know.
Love Chachi.
Oh, is it Johnny? Oh.
She does.
I was like, oh, yeah, could be. Could be a Joni. Johnny.
If he had done all this without an attorney present. his confession tapes are over 40 hours long, and he was really eating up being the center of attention. Once again, 40 hours worth of confession, that's another BTK similarity.
Uh-huh.
Police sprayed luminol in his kitchen, and it lit up like a 1970s hippie den.
Ooh, I bet.
He had butchered several victims right there in the kitchen where he and Terry ate their meals. They also found 45 pictures of Donna Bennett and other victims naked, dismembered. They found his kill kit in a tackle box with zip ties, a knife, tape, books about serial killers. He had a belt that belonged to Donna Bennett Johnson. It's just a treasure trove of evidence. So, he didn't necessarily keep trophies, but he kept a lot of things linking him there. Terry was released from from jail. She called Christine at 5:30 a.m. to tell her what had happened. And Christine couldn't believe it. And as if it couldn't get any worse, then the grisly details of the murders were revealed to her. She flashed back to the smell in her car and realized that she had been riding around with a corpse in the car and didn't even realize it. Not to mention the nice gesture of cleaning the house. He was just cleaning up blood. They also believed that one of the victims had actually been killed in the kitchen. Sean Gillis was charged with first and second degree murder from several different jurisdictions. He was convicted of 3 murders and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. He escaped the death penalty because there was doubt about his mental health, much like Ron Dominique, although I think both those chuckleheads were fully aware of what they were doing and what the consequences would be if they got caught. And Louisiana has a sense of humor with their prison jumpsuits, because I saw a picture of him where he looks like a fucking candy cane in a red and white striped jumpsuit.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's someone's sucker.
Oh yeah, he's a little bitch. Terry struggled with the realization of what he had done for a long time. I doubt she'll truly be over it. She lives in Alabama now. She has a boyfriend. And
No shit.
Yeah. And
She lives in Alabama
now. She followed Nick Saban.
Yeah. That was do it again. Wait, one more time, right?
It has to reset each time we do it, so I can't do it. Oh man. I hope that we don't wind up covering her new boyfriend. But or her. I hope she doesn't, nah, I'm not going to go there. Oh God. She and Christine have become extremely close now after this all went down, and when they were talking and everything, they did go back to see. They did go back to see Sean one last time. Christine said that they were just looking for closure, and Christine said that when Sean finally made eye contact with her, he smiled at her. Although Terry's disabled and she has epilepsy, she says that she'd like to talk to Sean again, but as far as I know, that hasn't happened. And in a documentary that I watched, it had both Christine and Terry there. They're like, when we were leaving the police station and everything, Terry was obviously devastated, but Christine, hugged her mother and said, "We have each other." Aw, yeah, that's sweet. I'm glad that Sean didn't ruin their relationship.
Yeah.
There's a kitty cat.
Oh, you saw her?
Yeah. And so unless Jody has any more Louisiana serial killers, we've covered all of them. Ronald J. Dominique, Derrick Todd Lee, and now Sean Vincent Gillis. So are there any others, Jody?
I'm sure there are. We just don't know who they are right now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, anyway, thanks a hell of a lot for listening. We had a hell of a lot of fun on this episode. This one is probably going to go down as one of my favorites of all time that we've done. So,
yeah.
I'll say this. I was not comfortable with the amount of laughing talking about a serial killer. That's great.
Well, that's CKCB. You should know this. We did that on Derrick Todd Lee episode.
Well, we got to add.
I was inappropriate that episode.
You should listen to my BTK series.
That's got to be hilarious. I was going to watch Netflix as a joke, but I'm going to watch the BTK for laughs.
That was on YouTube. That all 3 parts. That's on YouTube. with video just like this. So yeah, that was.
You know, like you know, what's messed up is like I don't have my glasses on, and my phone's like little bitty, and what I'm seeing back to me, I look like James Carville. Please tell me I don't look like James Carville.
No, actually,
I know I got LSU on. I got LSU on. I'm like, I got their Black Kitty right here.
Actually, I don't know if you zoomed in, because when you first were on, you were like zoomed out, but when it zoomed in and see up close of you and everything, I was just like, I saw your dad, to be honest with you.
I see that every day in the mirror when I brush my teeth.
No, I was just like, whoa, because when we did Derrick Todd Lee, that video is not available, but when we did that one, it's just like you were zoomed out, and I didn't see. I see you up close here. I was just like, whoa, looks just like Gary.
Trust me, when I brush my teeth, my toothbrush looks like a 38.
Oh God. Paul, say the goodbye shit.
All right. This is your first time tuning in. Please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Over and out.
Until next week later.